Okay. Next trivia question. Okay, so can somebody tell me what one of these little dents in the golf ball is called?
Dimple.
Dimple. Okay, what's the average number of dimples on a golf ball?
Anybody know? Colby
Wild
and
guess.
Parker.
$500?
A little bit less. Come on, make some guesses, folks. Raise your hand.
400?
Little more than 400.
Oh.
250?
It was more than 400 and less. More than 400, less than 500.
DJ.
450 then?
A little less.
425.
425.
A little bit more.
430. 37. 437.
430 was super close.
431.
432.
432.
444.
432. So 432 is the average number of dimples on a golf ball. I know that's full of useless knowledge that absolutely probably was never going to win you a trivia contest. Now, what would happen? Okay. Sorry, everybody mute yourself real quick until I ask another question. Okay. And here comes the next question. What would happen if I hit a golf ball that had no dimples? So can anybody raise their hand and tell me what would happen? Would it fly farther, fly less? Would it fly?
No, don't.
Colby and Parker.
It would fly less.
It would fly less. So I've got this. This is pretty cool here. I kind of like this. There's a little bit of a glare here, but we're going to do the best we can. So if you've ever been to our offices here, this hangs up on the wall. Not many people look at it, but if you have, it's kind of cool. Right here, back in the 1400s, that's a long, long, long time ago, before anybody even sailed over here to America, early 1400s. So this was a round piece of wood that they would whack around. Now, obviously, there's no dimples in this, so it probably didn't fly very well. So this ball was meant to roll on the ground probably most of the way. Not too bad, but kind of hard. Didn't have a good feel to it. So a little bit later in the early 1600s, they came up what was called the feathery, and they took two pieces of leather. It was like two straps, and they would sew it together, but they'd leave a hole, and they would stuff that hole full of goose feathers. And being that it was made of leather, they would soak it in water. So they stuffed it full of these goose feathers, and then they would let it dry. And when it would dry, that leather would shrink. So it would make this really hard ball. So it was called a feathery. Now, once again, no dimples, didn't fly very well. Then, over here, we have what is called the gutta percha. Gutta percha. And the gutta percha was, once again, it was smooth, but it was made out of the sap of a tree. Now, over time, it would get little nicks and dings and stuff like that in it. If you can see some gray marks on there, possibly, I don't know. But the gutta percha, the more nicks and stuff it got in it, the better it would fly. So then they started doing what was called the hammered gutta. And as you can see, this one here has got some almost like lines in it. So it made it all of a sudden start flying in the air. Then they came up with the mesh gutta. Once again, more different cool patterns. And then later on in almost 1900, the brambled gutta, which has some more like outward dimples versus inward dimples. So over time, as these guys were using the powers of observation, they noticed that all of a sudden the ball's flying better the more little marks and stuff it had in there. So the air would catch that and help it rise up. It would spin. It would stay in the air longer. So if it stays in the air longer, it would go farther. So pretty cool about the golf ball, because if it were completely smooth, it is not going to go very far. It's not going to fly it's going to just dive straight down. Not very good. So long time ago, those shepherds who started playing the game, they started realizing that, hey, these different things make this golf ball fly farther. So you talk about engineering. So some of you out there, let's face it, we're not all going to play professional golf. We kind of know that, but you can still have a career in the golf industry as like an engineer. Can you imagine designing golf balls that go super, super far? What if you design a golf ball that could go 600 yards? They actually have golf balls that can go pretty far, but the USGA and the R&A, the two governing bodies in golf, so the United States Golf Association and the Royal and Ancient of St. Andrews are the ruling bodies, and they say a golf ball can only go so far. So they've actually had to engineer it the best they possibly can. So the ball speed is only a certain amount, but be kind of cool. And you could also engineer golf clubs. You think of the old-timey golf clubs, which are originally made of wood, and then they started having metal shafts and then graphite shafts. They went from wooden heads to metal heads to titanium, which is a super light, super strong metal. So who knows what they're going to come up with next that helps you hit the ball even farther. But it's pretty cool stuff. But the golf ball I always thought was pretty interesting. And if they really wanted to change the game of golf, they could make all the players play a very uniform type of golf ball that doesn't go as far, which would be kind of interesting to me if some of the pros had to play with something like that. But who knows if that'll ever happen. Okay, so we didn't even get into this before we started. We're going to go back to it right now. Core value of the day is honesty. Super, 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 super important that we are honest in all aspects of our life. I promise you, if people hear that you're somebody who is doesn't tell the truth or doesn't report the correct scores when they play golf, it's going to be pretty hard to find people that want to play golf with you. And if you're known as somebody who is not truthful, that's not a good title to have. So make sure that we're always being truthful. You may not like the score that you shot, but you have to report it honestly at all times. Our healthy habit of the day is going to be energy. Very, very important that we have lots of energy, and we get that energy by eating right, by getting plenty of sleep, by eating right. So eating the best that you possibly can is super important for your high energy levels. But getting plenty of sleep too. Don't stay up all night playing video games until the wee hours of the morning, because then if you have to get up early, you're going to be groggy and cranky and probably not perform quite as well. So make sure that we're getting plenty of sleep and doing the things we have to. And exercise is going to be super important. You're all getting to that age. Some of you may be teenagers, but some of you are getting really close. Those teenage years, as you're growing, it's important that you exercise as much as possible. And exercise, as you start, especially when you really start growing, try to do everything as fast as you can. Because as your bones stretch, that means your muscles are put on stretch. And if your muscles are put on stretch and you're moving as fast as you possibly can, you're going to be able to run faster, jump faster, and swing faster. And if you can swing faster, the ball goes farther. Who doesn't want to hit the ball farther? There's nobody I know that doesn't want to hit the ball farther. So make sure we're on top of that. Rule of the day. Whew. Oh my goodness. Where's my? Very important. Oh, there you are. Got a couple putters out here. If I'm on the putting green and somebody asks you to mark the ball, make sure you mark the ball. But if you leave your ball out there, somebody could hit it. The next thing you know, there was a penalty involved. So all of a sudden, because you didn't mark your ball, now there's a 2-shot penalty involved with this. Can anybody raise their hand and tell me who gets penalized? The person who hit the ball or the person who left their ball?
We know.
Who's that?
Pete and William.
Well, I know, but who's the person who gets penalized?
The person who did not mark their ball.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Positive. Okay. So make sure that you mark your ball on the green. So part of being a golfer is when you get to the first tee box, you are 100% prepared to play the game of golf. That means you've got all your clubs. If you show up without your putter, it's going to be kind of hard to play golf. I did that one time in college. I took my putter out of my bag and went over to the practice green the night before and was practicing putting. And when I went back to the car, I just tossed my putter into the back there. And then I was running a little late to get to the van to leave for the college trip. Grabbed my bag out, ran over to the van, threw my bag in, and guess what was laying in my trunk? My putter. Kind of hard to play good golf when you don't have your putter. So make sure you got all your clubs. Make sure you have golf balls. If you run out of golf balls in a tournament, you're disqualified. We don't want that to happen. Make sure you have plenty of tees. Make sure you have a divot repair tool so when your ball hits the green, you can fix it. And make sure you have ball markers. There's nothing worse than every time you go to putt, somebody who forgot a ball marker has a big T stuck in the middle of the ground. Now, granted, you can use that as a ball marker, but somebody's going to ask you to move that quite a bit. So make sure, just get a bunch of pennies. Ask your parents for some loose pennies. Everybody's got some change laying around. So throw 10 pennies in your bag. You'll never run out of a ball marker. But make sure you always have a ball marker. Make sure you're always prepared with tees, ball markers, divot repair tool, got all your clubs, a towel. If you're going to play in a golf tournament, look at the weather because it might rain. So you're probably going to need an umbrella or even a rain suit. So it's make sure you're always prepared for any situation when you're out there getting ready to play golf. If you're prepared, you're going to be in good shape. Anybody got any questions for me today?